and gentlemen, back here to Pro League. We are in round one, grand postseason playoffs here. I am Valdez. With me tonight once again is Moonglade and Wolf. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing great. This is KT's time to prove themselves. They need this win. You have to be totally honest. Sorry to the CJ fans, but they've been looking a bit weak in the last parts of the season. I feel like the winner of this is highly favored to take them out. And it's likely going to be who's going to match SKT in the finals. I mean, we'll see what happens with CJ, but I really want to see KT bring this back. I don't want Jin Air to suddenly pop out and take it 2-0. I'd like to see this go all the way to 3 games.
That would be an excellent thing to see, Wolf. I completely agree with you there. It's KT's last chance. If they lose here today, they're out of it. It's very surprisingly, considering they did win last year. It'd be a huge win for Jin Air.
And I think the stats that we saw yesterday was that KT is actually 0-3 against Jin Air in this all-kill format. So in terms of the stats, it's not a big, amount of stats to take from, but they still are behind Jin Air 3 games.
That's true. We'll have to see how these two teams do in this format where one player can often carry and even all-kill Zest. Very known to do these sorts of things. Maru, on the other hand, not so much. Even though he's a great player and does well in this format, we very rarely see him actually get more than 2 kills.
Yeah, I agree with that. Some notes to take from yesterday, though. Trap and Pig Baby also came out, got some big wins there. So we're seeing members from Jin Air that we normally wouldn't see take wins start to win these games. So maybe we actually won't have to rely so much on Maru and SOS.
I mean, we'll have to see exactly who does come out as well, because I think it is only a best of 7, so we are only going to get 7 maps, and for the all-kill, that means you get a max of 4 players.
That's right. So keep in mind that, even though we saw yesterday that lineup of expanded players, that kind of extra lineup of snipers and sort of interesting map pick type players, even seeing Super come out, for example, we're not really going to see necessarily today. It's going to be all about the heavy hitters.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly so. Well, as we say that, though, we are starting off with Trap against Flash once again.
The rematch.
Trap got it last time. It was a pretty close game. Flash starting with a pretty strong economic lead, but then Trap in the mid to late game just pulled him apart, which is probably what they were aiming for again today.
Yeah, DT harass, man. That's what it was all about.
DT's Zealots just running by, doing damage that shouldn't have been doing damage, to be honest.
Just like the Warp Prism being left alive for that long was just a massive mistake. I'm sure Flash is going to be focusing on that for this game here. Talking about all-kill formats, we do see for Starcraft 2 only, KT Rolster does better, getting 4 O's and 4 1s, but not so much in 4-2 and 4-3 situations.
Yeah, things start to get dire for them early on, sometimes they do kind of fall apart in the series. Just taking a look at the data on who's gotten multiple kills, you can see Zest and Flash, 2 players for KT Rolster, have both gotten 4 kills. The 3 kills and 2 kill stats are down there as well. Not the most it's not that exciting to see how many players have done well in this format, but you see that on Jin Air Green Wings only SOS and Maru have done it, whereas on KT Rolster 4 players have gotten 4 kills.
I mean, most likely be seeing these 4 players as well, as we see those 4 KT players up the top there, all the strongest on that team.
Well, taking a look at the key players for victory, Maru is 10-1 against a multitude of different KT players here, Flash, Life Stats, Zest, and TY, whereas Zest versus Jin Air is essentially their only, I guess that must be the strongest player on KT that does well against Jin Air.
Yeah, so it's just scary to think that Maru might be able to demolish each and every one of these players. There's a fatigue issue that comes in, though, to this all-kill format, and I think Maru is one of the players who's most known to get fatigued, especially with his wrist issues that he's been experiencing the past few months.
Well, going into the viewpoints here, all-kill format, KT is down 0-3 against Jin Air, as I was saying before. The mission here for KT is to defeat Maru, because he's done extremely well in all-kill formats against KT before, and Terrans and Zergs losing on day 1.
Well, that's kind of been the story of this whole year. Protoss is so damn strong. I don't know, guys.
Yeah, it was the story of last year as well. Throughout most of the year, it's been kind of a Protoss favored end of Heart of the Swarm. We even saw WCS finish off with 2 Protoss players in the finals. No Koreans making it, not our Korean Terrans.
It's good that this is the way it is going into the Legacy of the Void, I suppose, from a lore standpoint.
Well, it's funny because if you look back at the end of Wings of Liberty, it was very Zerg dominated as well, and then it led into Heart of the Swarm. Coincidence?
It must mean something, guys.
Well, we'll soon find out today if it's going to repeat the same pattern, starting with that Trap versus Flash. Same map and everything. It's essentially the same match as yesterday to start things off, to kick off the momentum for both sides. Can Trap do it again is all I'm asking.
I mean, I guess it does make sense that they do come out on the same map once again. They were practicing for this one map to start off the first day, so no real reason to mix it up, especially because usually, even when you're looking at KT, they love to put players on specific maps, and we saw it yesterday from Jin Air as well, where Maru and Rogue were coming out as the 5th and 6th players, which could have, been a bit dangerous for them if their earlier players did not pull their weight.
That's true. Something else to keep in mind going into this series just is how nervous everyone played yesterday. We had a lot of weird games, a lot of games that players should have won but did not win, or barely won even though they should have won easily. For example, that first game with Flash, he should have won that. The control we saw from Trap was pretty bad, but part of that was nerves as well. I feel like hopefully the nerves have calmed down to a certain extent. We're going to go into this series today with much more crisp play than we saw yesterday.
Yeah, I really hope so. I mean, that one win KT did get yesterday was probably one of the ugliest games we've seen all season. It just was a disaster for both sides, but Super coming out ahead in that one.
It'll be interesting to see if that does come out here. Going into the predictions here for Flash versus Trap, it looks like me and Moonglade are the only two that did go for Trap.
I had to go full Korean today. Just looking at how well Flash played the early and the mid game yesterday, I have to give him the edge. All he has to do is make turrets and bunkers at his bases, defend the late game harass, and just do a similar type of aggression to knock Trap off his Colossus legs, if you will, because he was just one-hitting his Colossus, he was controlling poorly. I give him the edge here. I don't think he's going to fall apart in the late game if we even get there.
Well, yeah, we'll see. We'll see if Flash is really going to mix it up this time. If he's going to change anything at all. He did show his build yesterday. It was a pretty greedy one, going for, I believe, double CCs behind gasless racks. Big ambitious play there. Can be all-ins.
Well, Flash there with 501 wins. I just noticed that's an immense amount of wins. Kind of surprised he didn't get a 500 wins award. Yeah. It's so much more than so many of these other players that are currently playing Starcraft 2.
Yeah, if you look at Trap, he was on STX right before the switch and was on Seoul as they lost their sponsor, then went to IM, and has now found his way on Jin Air. He's had a lot of team history. He's played a ton of games, but he has 1/10 of the wins of Flash. If you think about that, put that in perspective, he's got 1/10 of the experience winning matches.
Well, we're going to have a look at that little bars before we start again, though. We did see this yesterday. We did see Trap take the game, so it really does not mean anything at this point.
It's really about how these players are going to come out for this one game. Do you see the average kills that these players do get in the all-kill format? Flash does get 1.5. So Trap not looking nearly as good at .33. Maybe not as comfortable in this format.
That's 1 out of 3 times he comes out and gets a win.
Well, guys, we're going to jump straight into game number 1 right now between Flash and Trap once again. Going into the map echo, let's do it. Down here in the bottom right, in the red.
Oh.
It's Jin Air.
Well, looks like Trap has done it again, guys.
I guess Moonglade and Valdez win the predictions this time.
As expected.
Can I change my prediction for the next match, guys, or what?
Flash is like, yo, wait, I wasn't ready. Maybe leaving this one.
Yeah, he's like, my chair was a little bit too high. I'm going to have to restart this game, actually.
A bit awkward there.
Considering how calm he looked in that camera shot, I don't expect this is a serious issue. Of course, Trap confused as he doesn't know what in fact happened.
What the hell? He looks a little shaken. He's like, whoa, I got to start this again?
Yeah.
So already so nervous. Such a...
Moonglade, how does that feel, actually, from a pro gamer's perspective? When you're getting into a game and then all of a sudden there's like one real big pause or you have to restart the game right at the beginning?
It's only really horrible if it's during the game. Like when you've actually in your rhythm, you're macroing, you're already built, the kind of the game is set out, you have your plan, you've scouted what you have needed to scout, and you kind of everything's going the way it should be. Pausing, even just a pause, can just really upset the momentum in the game. But at the start of one, not too bad.
Sure. I don't have booth pro gaming experience. I played a lot of tournaments over time in other games, as well as doing fencing. If someone has to swap a controller out right at the beginning, something starts working or stops working rather, or you got to switch the blade out just because a blade broke in the first round in the first touch. You know, in fencing, I fenced epee. You've got to switch it out. You got to wait. It's very frustrating. Can't get into your head when you're in the zone. It's like your touch. You got the first touch, and then his blade breaks. And you got to wait for his blade to be tested again. It's this long period of frustration.
He's like, wow, this is just really annoying.
They're actually going to be, it's to preserve the game's integrity. We're going into the replay. It will be resumed from replay to make sure the spawning locations are preserved.
Well, not too much of a big deal with these guys, I think. Just Trap looking a little confused.
Trap's like, oh, I wish I could have spawned in the bottom.
Yeah. I wonder if what the actual issue was. Like, I mean, I guess there's no penalty points at this point. It's kind of just like, oh, I forgot my hotkeys. I'm just going to leave the game. What are you going to do?
Imagine if they were like, sorry, KT, you guys actually lose the first game because of this. Trap wins.
It's Flash. I don't think you can do that. Flash would be like, you said what?
I think it's most likely just simply a crash, right? Like probably an error because we use a special Pro League lobby. It's probably just a lobby crash or something. You got kicked out, or maybe someone pressed the wrong button in the lobby. I think that's probably more likely what's
Remember
actually
yesterday
occurring.
The start button wasn't working for some reason?
Yeah.
You know, little bugs like this can happen.
Yeah, the UI might have gotten updated going into the playoffs like slightly or something, some patch that we didn't see, something that changed in the background.
Maybe, yeah. Oh, I'm sure we'll find out later on exactly what happened as we have a look at the board of pink notes.
Well, KT Rolster definitely was the most vocal fangirls, so pink, an appropriate color, I feel, for this fan board here.
And Jin Air, I would argue they have more little pads here. KT was kind of cheating, taking up like 5 different ones with just one syllable.
Yeah, that's not really fair.
Look at that one, SOS, but with a love fire. That's cute.
It's like Maru all kill KT 3-0. I'm like, wait a minute. That's
like
not even the right.
Up there too.
KT 3-0, then Maru all kill.
Okay.
All right.
That would make for the most exciting day, I suppose, if you're a Jin Air fan.
That'd be great for everyone, I think, seeing Maru do that sort of thing again. It's been a long time since we see him really kick some ass.
Maru, uchuchu, top left. Not going to translate that one.
Jin Air 4-0 fighting.
Yeah.
Trap's still confused.
It's like, I can't believe this.
He's still like in shock. It's so funny. You know, Flash didn't get a chance to delay the game before it started, so he just wanted to do it after it started.
Like, wait, I didn't have my time yet.
I think they just confirmed all the settings in the room to make sure they were all correct. Didn't look like either player was changing any of their settings, and there was nothing in the lobby to indicate the players were not ready. So I think it's just to make sure this doesn't crash again. Flash is like, well, I mean, now that we're in the room, can I just like hit this 1 centimeter?
It's like, hold on a second. I didn't get my ruler out for those extra 30 seconds that I need.
Yeah. Need to reconfirm that my mouse pad's in the right position.
The Jin Air player was asked to leave the lobby, and will be rejoining now. This has just been a bit of a just shaky start in general to this first game. You can definitely get into your head if you were really hyped and very ready the second it hit start, and now you're not. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you certainly have your heart rate up. You're thinking about the game. You get into the game, and then it just ends.
Yeah, just like cuts you off right there. And then you start to get nervous again as the replay is loading up, as it is right now, actually.
Yeah, I should be into it just a moment time. It's going to do that recovering thing, but luckily the game time was pretty much at 1 second, so it will resume very quickly.
The workers hadn't even started mining, really. They haven't returned their first trip. We're going to have a short countdown in the game as the game has been recreated. Both players are ready.
Kind of a slow start to the day, but we are going to get into this first game again. There it goes, 3, 2, 1, and we have started. So here we go.
No.
Ooh.
Oh, man. Now we see why Trap was so jittery.
Yeah, it's like, damn it, I really needed to do that fast.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. That's really awkward, too, because the probe was moving out already. So if anyone was looking at the minimap, they would have noticed that. And, you know, Trap's kind of been figured out before the game even started.
Yeah. Luckily, in this sort of resume from replay, it's impossible for both players to see vision.
Where is this probe going to go?
It looks like it's going all the way in the main.
No way. Oh. Could still be going for a double gas steal, I suppose,
He's
but that's
going to make
not
a foul on it main.
No. He has to let it go. I mean, you could still gas, but then Flash is going to do the build he did yesterday.
He just makes a couple of CCs. He's like, okay, whatever.
It's like, I guess you could do that, but I was never taking those gases anyway. So
just think about this in the way of basically Trap has 10% less mining than Flash for the early game. It's a big deal, or even more than 10%.
It was like 20%. He sent it out like it was one of the first. It was very quickly.
Yeah. So all you can really do is harass and be as annoying as humanly possible.
Were they the GG girls?
No, they weren't.
That's someone else.
We got some new GG girls here today.
Yeah.
And that's my favorite new emoticon. The guy with the ears and the 2 boxing gloves.
You've been using that one
a lot. Yeah. I can't even buy those. They're no longer available.
You have to play the game.
I know.
Friends Pop.
I'm really
Cacao
jealous.
Game.
Every time you
get
send
to level
those,
16.
because that's actually a really great set, and every time you send one, I'm like, oh, please make this from a different set so I can buy these, and then I just can't. Makes me really angry every time, to be honest. Like, please stop sending those to me.
All right, I'll stop doing it.
I'm just kidding.
All right, well, having a look at this game, guys, it's going to be a Reaper opening this time for Flash, so he's going to play a little bit safer. Not a surprise considering he did see that probe so early. That aggression was definitely on the cards for Trap until that kind of failed miserably.
Yeah. So what do you guys think about that build? I mean, considering Flash, he's usually extremely greedy, does not scout, goes for CC first a lot of the time. Do you think it was worth to try to go in base compared to outside of the base?
I personally think absolutely not. Like, let's talk about what could have happened. There's 2 openings that Flash does. No one does not make their depot at the ramp anymore these days. There's kind of a meta shift between when you make it a ramp or not based on how much Mothership Core Stalker aggression is coming out, because obviously it gets vulnerable. But if he goes CC first, which is a high chance as well, then he's going to see you when he comes out with his SCV. Either way, you're likely to be scouted. If you make it the natural, you have a much better chance of hiding it, or even outside the natural. It means he probably wanted to go for a 2 gateway proxy.
Yeah, that really would be the thing that would make sense with that kind of build. No other reason you'd be trying to go to the main base with the probe that early on.
I think he was just trying to punish the CC first from Flash, hoping he was going to be greedy and maybe the SCV time will work out.
Well, I mean, like, you didn't really have to do it against the CC first for it to work. Against most builds, it's going to do a lot of damage if it gets up in the main base like that. That just really didn't make sense that he put it up there, considering the timing, and everything kind of just fell apart.
Kind of an interesting build. Did not work out. We are going to see a very late scout here by a hidden probe. Going to see 3 racks getting up here by Flash as the follow-up.
This looks like Flash is going to rush out Stim and Combat Shields again pretty quickly with this kind of build, just like he did yesterday. You know, as the follow-up to get them both at the same time. This time, obviously, with only 2 CCs, it's going to be much faster. I think we're going to see this tech lab go up and then the second tech lab go up on the 3rd rack, so we're going to see both research simultaneously. And he's going to go for a push to punish a 3rd base, kind of like what we saw yesterday. Obviously, Trap is doing something a little bit different, though. A little bit of a late Oracle coming in. We'll see how much damage that ends up doing.
Let's see if this Reaper can get the scouts.
Might be able to.
It's going to try. I think if he commits to it, he will. He's going to go all around the side here. And the Mothership Coach is going to let him do it. Yep. There we go.
No reaction. I think the Reaper should. No. It is going to get out.
Huge mistake there. Trap playing a little bit off his game today. Probably like a little bit tilted considering how that early game went.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I used to proxy a lot in this matchup, but I just don't think even on this map, if everything was perfect, like if it was slightly faster, I'm pretty sure he still would have been scouted by that same SCV no matter what. I don't think the pause affected his timing. You would think if anything, he would know and would have altered the build accordingly.
I guess like the only thing that there's actually nothing that probe had going for it in that kind of timing. It was just really off-put. Maybe I'll go back and watch a replay or something and see actually why it was so late. Or well, as we look at this Oracle harassment, it's not going to find too much.
Yeah, finds a few Marines.
Yeah, getting some damage done at least. Trying to snipe out some of these Marines if they do get too far away from their buddies. But yeah, it's going to be a combat shields push instead of that stim. Just 1 tech lab this time around.
Yeah, he sacrifices the faster sim research for a much heftier Marine count, which will, of course, be strengthened by the combat shield rush that you mentioned. And he's coming over across here, trying to maybe even bait out a Photon Overcharge. This Reaper getting an unnecessary amount of damage, meanwhile.
Yeah, it's going to pull 2 of those units out of position.
Well, I think it's just going to be the Photon Overcharge and either a turnaround or a commitment to probe kills. We'll see what Flash wants to do.
Okay, there's the overcharge. This Immortal is not going to be very good versus this composition. He's only got one center here, but that force shield will deny, and it is going to be the trade for probes, as you mentioned.
Yeah, and he's actually going to get a lot as well. That was not a good force field.
Yeah. And a lot of probes do get away, but still 8 have gone down. At the same time, all these Marines will go down. So he is going to lose, nearly his entire army that he did send across the map.
It's like, yeah, well, 8 probes go down for a lot of Marines. Still a lot left over because Flash did go for that 2cc into production of Marines and Marauders. The Marauders are a little bit later.
One of the strengths of this push, though, is that it means that your Marines are going to be, a little bit tankier. They withstand another overcharge for the rest of the game, and you're going to have this upgrade for the mid-game as well. It's not like an Oracle Rusher. Hold that thought. Let's see if he gets good force shields here. Decent, but not as good as it could have been.
Squeezed through there. Yeah, not really worth it. And he actually gets to see that forward pylon, so maybe aggression coming his way. Flash might have to be a little bit more careful.
Yeah, there's really only Marines out here so far. A bunker's trying to be made, but the Oracle's coming in here. Should be able to get a couple of Marine kills and the SCV.
Yeah.
He does focus that down.
And meanwhile, this pylon will be pushed back. Trap being a bit timid with his ground force, but already finding more kills here in the main, or rather in the natural. But just going back to that idea, I feel like if you go for a rushed sort of all-in or aggressive time with, say, even an Oracle or a Void Rays or, a DT drop, that tech isn't very useful immediately afterwards, whereas for Flash, he's now going to have Stim and Combat Shields for follow-ups. He traded for a good amount of economy. He's ahead in Harvesters even still after that Oracle harass.
Yeah, that's very true. The only problem is that he does have such a huge number of Marines, and he's up against Colossus already from Trap. So the composition is kind of redundant for him right now until he adds a lot more Marauders. And as we see this fight right now, this Colossus is here. Granted, there isn't much of a buffering for it, but he can still take a pretty decent fight.
Let's see if he does want to commit to this. Not any medevacs around here. There's only one with this drop coming in. Let's see if Trap can react to this. A couple of Widow Mines coming down in the main.
There's no observer on the map currently. Good reaction. This pylon, if it finishes, is a big deal. Looks like he's going to force to cancel that. And I think that one Widow Mine still has a charge available, if I'm not mistaken. So this is a scary moment. Overcharge will push this away, and Flash microing back at home to defend.
Oh, it's going to get down, but it's going to trigger on one. All this is all happening to that push to the front. There's no way Trap can get in there.
Oh, yeah.
He's not even going to find that third base. It's in the middle of nowhere as well.
Okay, finally an observer does come out, and he will be able to clean up both of these Widow Mines as long as he's on top of that observer.
Oh, big bio army coming out. They could jump on top of this. That is such a small army. Huge disaster.
This is more of the same of what we saw from Trap yesterday. Just late reactions with his Colossi, with his army. And now this is just going to be game-ending damage, essentially. There's no DTs to save Trap in this game.
GG. Just going to leave it right there. Flash.
Ugly game.
Is going to take game number 1 here.
Get
KT off to a great start.
Yeah, what a weird sort of start to that game, setting a probe that early. Clearly intending to go for a proxy, but it's so late that it gets scouted by the supply depot at TV.
Yeah, it's just, I just don't think going for the main base works on that map. Unless Flash makes his depot like super econ at his mineral line, instead of going for, the depot at the ramp. Either way, it's a strange build. Most players will do like the classic location where you do it outside the ramp of the third base, or you put it behind the mineral line at the natural. You do one gateway. Going into the main means you're probably going to do 2 gates, which can be strong, but not if it's scouted, obviously, which is why he instantly made a pylon at home, but he just got so behind his result. I don't feel like that's where the game went wrong. I feel like the game went wrong when he just kept showing aggression and then kind of half doing it. He never really committed. He lost all of his units at the end of the game. That was obviously what just lost him the game overall, but Flash had a good build. He traded for probes. He had a good economy, and he was just ahead overall in the game. Like, he had a third CC that Trap never even scouted for, that he could have been pushing for, punishing.
Yeah, well, he was just kind of behind from the start. When you send in a probe like that, it's not going to do anything. It's such an abnormal time to send a worker out that it stunts your growth so much more than a probe, like 3 probes later would have done.
His army for that timing attack to move out as well was just not strong enough. It had the Colossi, it had that power, but he didn't add extra gateways. He wasn't hitting all of his production cycles because he was losing mining time to the Widow Mines.
Yeah, just kind of an awkward game all around from Trap. And that's not going to be a great start here for Jin Air. Flash going to